In this demo, we're going to show you how you can use Turbot Guardrails to automatically govern your GitHub organization and your repository configurations. So very similar to how you might manage your Amazon, Azure, Google, Kubernetes, ServiceNow configurations within Guardrails, GitHub is just a new scope that you can connect and govern through policies. I already have a GitHub organization called Turbot-demo, and I have a handful of repositories, a few that are public facing and one that is private. So I want to bring this into Guardrails so that all these configurations can be tracked within the Turbot Guardrail CMDB, and I can apply some governance policies to make sure that these are meeting best practice configurations and that they're secure at all times. And so to add a GitHub organization, just like how you would add a cloud account, go to the connect page, you then go to the GitHub section, and then you can choose where you want to place your GitHub organization within your Turbot hierarchy. You can just put your URL for your organization and then your personal access token that you set up to integrate the organization to Guardrails. So simple as that, hit the connect button. I already had done so. And so I already have the Turbot demo within now the CMDB. It instantly discovered it. It then brought in all the repositories and its configurations. And so very similar look and feel if you're already familiar with Guardrails. This is just like looking at an Amazon S3 bucket or an Azure SQL instance. It's going to look very familiar. You then have your controls, your policies, your user activity, you have your developer tools, etc., all at your fingertips. And so the value here is that you can bring in your pipeline configurations and your cloud infrastructure all in one governance interface. Very similar to other governance policies for Amazon, Azure, Google, you also have policies for GitHub. And within GitHub, you have two resource type scopes. You have organizations and repository configurations that you can manage. So just as an example on the repository layer, there's some common guardrails that you may want to consider first. So on more of the ops SRE angle of managing these configurations, you might want to set policies to manage what your default branch is. You may want to set some pull request configurations and the behavior of your pull requests. You might want to dictate what types or features within your repositories are allowed, whether or not you're allowing certain types of forking, or you might allow project use or wiki use or discussion use to be enabled within your environment. There's also the security angle of your configurations. So whether or not your repository is public or private. So you may want to set a guardrail that will simply maybe all of your repositories by default will be enforced to mark private, and then make exceptions on the repositories that you want to make public. And so to do that, very similar to other guardrail policies, real simple, point and click, set the policy at what layer of your organizational structure, and Guardrails will take immediate action, which we'll show in a minute. To pick one as an example, we'll pick the code security configurations and specifically the security scanning. So I already have a policy set on whether or not secret scanning within your repositories are enabled or disabled. Right now I'm checking to see if they're enabled. So this is a read-only policy that's just going to alarm and alert if any of my repositories do not have secret scanning enabled. I already have these controls set. So in my two public repositories, that secret scanning is not enabled, so they're an alarm. The one repository that's private, it's not applicable. So this feature is specific to public repos. So if a secret is checked in or committed into a repository, GitHub will scan it to make sure that you don't have an Amazon access key or a GitHub access key or other different types of credentials that can then accidentally be exposed to the public. Right now, these two repositories within my demo organization do not have these enabled. I can use guardrails to automatically enforce those to be enabled, or I can alert my teams and have them fix it. In this example, I'm just going to actually fix the problem right now, putting guardrails into enforce mode. Going back to that policy, I could just simply edit it and then move it from check to enforce and then update. And so now that I have this policy setting to enforce it to be enabled, those guardrail controls will move from an alarm to an OK state because guardrails is going to fix the configuration. Going back into this Houston repository and going to the code security settings, I can see that secret scanning is not enabled. If I refresh the screen, now I can see that Guardrails has enabled it. And so going back to the controls here and refreshing, I'll see these move to an OK state. Great, so all these are now enabled. Back into this configuration, so Guardrails not only has enforced the configurations to be enabled on all the applicable repositories immediately, but now it will continuously manage those configurations moving forward. And so if I came in here and accidentally disabled secret scanning or intentionally did so, Guardrails is going to detect that and take action in real time. And so here I'll do that to show you a real-time guardrail. And so here, if I came in, disabled the secret scanning, I can go back in Guardrails and then I can tail that action. So this was on the Houston repository, and I'll go to the activity here. And it had worked that quickly. And so here you could see me coming in. The update that I made on the configurations was I took secret scanning, I moved it from enabled to disabled. And then the next action that happened, within a second, Guardrails then alerted that secret scanning is no longer meeting your posture. Because I had it in enforce mode, Guardrails then took the action to update the repository. And so that system account that I have associated took the action on our behalf and then changed secret scanning from disabled to now enabled. And once Guardrails had done that, the alarm then moves to an OK state. So very similar to how you've seen Guardrails work on cloud providers is also now the same of how you can manage your GitHub configurations. If you're interested in learning more, please reach out to us at turbot.com/start.